Hey there, and welcome to another trip report. I've just arrived at Munich International Airport off of a Lufthansa flight from Valencia, Spain, and I'm getting ready to catch a connecting flight with Eurowings Discover to Montreal. Eurowings Discover is a relatively new, low-cost subsidiary of the Lufthansa Group that started operations in July 2021 with a focus on medium and long-haul leisure routes from their hubs in Munich and Frankfurt. After taking a look at the departures board, my flight to Montreal is departing from gate C4 in Terminal 1, which as the board indicated is a roughly 21-minute transfer time from gate G5 in Terminal 2, where my Lufthansa flight arrived. Transferring from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1 involves a ride by bus, as there is no option to walk between the terminals without exiting the secure area. Following the signs to Terminal 1, after about 10 minutes of walking, I ended up near Terminal 2's gate G81 at the opposite end of the terminal from where my Lufthansa flight arrived. Here I catch the shuttle bus to Terminal 1, which runs every 10 minutes from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. I waited about 8 minutes here for the bus, and the ride over to Terminal 1 is only about 3 minutes. This transfer between the terminals is definitely a little complicated, and not something I expected when I booked these tickets. You see, Lufthansa and almost all other Star Alliance partner airlines operate from Terminal 2 here in Munich, which makes transfers between Star Alliance operated flights very easy. At the time of booking, both my flight from Valencia to Munich and then onwards to Montreal were operated by Lufthansa. However, in the months after the booking was confirmed, this leg from Munich to Montreal was moved to Eurowings Discover, and for some reason, even though they're part of the Lufthansa group, their flights operate from Terminal 1. To complicate matters even further, for the summer 2022 season, Eurowings Discover is wet leasing Airbus A350-900s from Finnair to operate some of their routes, including their Munich to Montreal route. So today's trip is a real mix of airlines, as it's a Eurowings Discover flight operated for Lufthansa, but is being operated by Finnair with a Finnair crew and aircraft. Typically, Eurowings Discover operates a fleet of Airbus A320s and A330s, with 22 aircraft in total as of March 2023, but we won't be seeing any of those today. After stepping off the bus at Terminal 1 near gate D6, I'm now following signs to the C gates for non-Schengen flights. To access these gates, I first have to clear passport control, which was another 8 minutes of walking and 2 flights of stairs from exiting the bus. Here, passengers are split into red and blue lines depending on your passport. Canadian passports are lumped in with the EU ones in the blue line, which involves a quick passport scan and facial scan at the automated gates, and then you proceed to see an agent. This process took less than 2 minutes, and I'm now in the home stretch to reach my gate. Heading downstairs to the main concourse, gate C4 is the first gate after exiting passport control, so that makes the total time from stepping off my Lufthansa flight to reaching the gate for my next flight just over 35 minutes, which is a lot longer than the advertised 21 minutes on the departures board, and a big contributor to that was the wait time for the bus. Definitely something to keep in mind if you have a tight connection that involves transferring between these terminals. Hanging around the gate area, boarding is expected to get underway at 4:20 p.m. in about 35 minutes time, with departure scheduled for 5 p.m. The gate area itself is pretty dirty, with overflowing garbage cans and food containers scattered around, which I can only assume are the result of staffing shortages. There's not a lot of seating available at this gate either, with some rows of seats down the center of the concourse, as well as high tables with power outlets that don't work, and restaurant-style booth seating near the gate. Either way, definitely not enough to accommodate all the passengers. When I arrived at the gate, passengers were queued in front of the desk to have their ArriveCAN verified. ArriveCAN is the Government of Canada's mobile app that was introduced during the COVID-19 pandemic for passengers to submit their proof of vaccination, quarantine plan if necessary, and contact information. As of July 2022, submitting information through this app was still a requirement for entry into Canada and had to be completed before you could board the aircraft. After about 20 minutes in line, I reached the desk and was given a sticker to prove that my documents had been checked. Boarding got underway about 5 minutes behind schedule at 4:25 p.m., starting with business class passengers, followed by premium economy, and then economy class. Our aircraft is parked on a remote stand today, so we'll be boarding a bus to get us there. Zones were printed on our boarding passes, but the gate agents are calling boarding by cabin instead, with all economy passengers being called to board at the same time. After having my passport and boarding pass checked and boarding the bus, we waited about 5 minutes for it to fill up before departing to the aircraft. The ride out to the plane was only a couple minutes, but after we arrived, we waited for another 10 minutes before being allowed to disembark. Catching a glimpse of the aircraft taking me to Montreal today, I'll be on board this nearly 6-year-old Airbus A350-900 that was delivered new to Finnair in September 2016. When operating for Finnair, these aircraft are used on their long-haul routes from Helsinki to the west coast of the US and to East Asian cities like Hong Kong and Tokyo. Due to recent political events in Russia, many of these routes had been suspended, and for Eurowings Discover, this was the perfect opportunity to use these aircraft and crew to bolster their summer operations. Getting on board was a very slow process in a hot, unair-conditioned jetway in the middle of July. A chaotic boarding process overall, starting with no lines or organized boarding to ending with cooking in a metal tube. Stepping on board the aircraft, to the left we have the first section of the business class cabin, which consists of 32 lie-flat pod-style seats, and to the right we have the second section of the business class cabin, which consists of 14 of the same style of lie-flat seat. On these Eurowings Discover flights, this rear business class section is being used as the premium economy cabin, since this version of Finnair's A350 doesn't have premium economy seating. Finally, we have economy class, and for today's flight, I'm booked in seat 30L, which is a window seat on the right side of the aircraft. The seats look plush and comfortable, with a light-colored fabric covering and an adjustable headrest at the top that can slide up and down and has folding sides to provide extra support. The seats have very impressive recline capability as well, which would be great for sleeping on long overnight flights. In the standard economy class seats, the legroom is quite reasonable at 31 inches of pitch, and the seats have a width of 18 inches. There are thin armrests on either side of the seat, with the armrest between the window and middle seats being movable. The cabin overall has a very Scandinavian style, with a light color palette and minimalist feel. The economy class seating is in a 3-3-3 configuration, with 251 seats in total. The first 43 seats at the front of the economy cabin in rows 21 through 25 are designated as economy comfort seating, with an extra 4 inches of legroom over the standard seats. In terms of cabin baggage storage, my large backpack fit easily under the seat in front, thanks in large part to the fact that there are no seat legs obstructing stowage between the window seat and the middle seat. There is also lots of space in the overhead bins down both sides of each aisle. Taking a look at what was provided at the seat when we boarded the aircraft, all we have is a pillow, but no blanket or headphones. These can be purchased and are not included free of charge, like on most transatlantic carriers. Taking a look at the seat back in front, we have a large personal entertainment screen, which we'll check out in detail after takeoff. Below the entertainment screen, we have a literature pocket which houses the safety information card for the Airbus A350-900, an air sickness bag, and the in-flight shopping magazine. Below the literature pouch, we have a bifold tray table which folds out from the seat back and extends to double its size. It's also mounted on rails such that you can adjust its position relative to you. And finally, below the tray table near the floor, we have another pocket for storing any items you please. Clicking around the entertainment screen, you'll find the exterior camera views from the cameras mounted on the tail and the belly of the aircraft, which are a really neat feature. As boarding was wrapping up, the captain announced that we would be delayed about 40 minutes due to air traffic control constraints. While we waited, a short video was played explaining the Finnair and Eurowings Discover agreement and essentially telling passengers why they're sitting on a Finnair plane.
Um möglichst viele Menschen an ihre Urlaubsdestination zu bringen, holen wir uns dazu Unterstützung aus dem Norden. Gemeinsam mit der Finnair arbeiten wir Hand in Hand, um die hohe Nachfrage nach Urlaubsreisen erfüllen zu können.
Damit Sie Landor
Und geben an unsere Kollegen der Finnair weiter.
About 40 minutes behind schedule, we began our pushback from the gate. Expected flight time to Montreal today is 7 hours and 30 minutes.
Welcome on board Finnair. Before departure, we would like to focus on safety. Please follow this video closely, as we will put the jacket over your head, fasten the buckle in front, and tighten the strap. Inflate the life jacket only when you leave the aircraft. This aircraft has 8 emergency exits, which are all marked with green and white.
Climbing away from Munich, I'm really admiring how big the A350 windows are, letting in tons of natural light and really brightening up the cabin. They're also equipped with standard pull-down window shades for when it's a little too bright outside. Taking a look at the overhead panel above the seat, here we have a personal reading light for each seat and an attendant call button for the row, but no personal air vents. About 20 minutes after takeoff, the crew began working their way through the cabin with blankets and headphones for sale. From the in-flight shopping magazine, blankets cost €9.50, while headphones are €3.50. Next, let's explore the entertainment system and see what content is available. On the bottom edge of the screen, we have the headphone port for connecting to the entertainment system audio, as well as a USB-A port for charging your devices, but you won't find any AC power outlets at any of the economy class seats on board. Getting into the system, we have on-demand content grouped into different categories, starting with movies and TV series. There's a good range of content here, with everything grouped by genre or other themes. For TV series, there are a couple episodes of each available show, but it's rather limited. We also have on-demand music and a selection of games. There isn't a dedicated kids content section, but rather a kids content category under each entertainment type. In the settings menu, you can also filter the entire system to show only kids content. Also in the settings menu, you can control the system language, volume, and display brightness, and at the bottom of the screen side menu, you can control the overhead reading light and call an attendant. Moving on to the in-flight maps, they're available in 3D with super high graphics quality and lots of different viewing options, with rolling flight information on the top bar. You can also click on different cities on the map to read about them, their main attractions, and their airports. Pulling out my laptop to get some work done, there's a good amount of space to use a large laptop in these seats, but if the seat in front was reclined, it would be a lot tighter. This aircraft is equipped with onboard Wi-Fi, though it is a paid service. To connect, you join the Nordic Sky Wi-Fi network and go to nordicsky.finnair.com to view the internet access pass options. There are 3 different passes available, with 1 hour of access costing €7.95, 3 hours costing €14.95, and access for the full flight costing €24.95. The entertainment screen also indicates that there's an option to view magazines, destination guides, and onboard shopping on your device for free without purchasing access, but I didn't see this option on the Wi-Fi launch page. About 50 minutes into the flight, the crew began the in-flight meal and beverage service. On this flight, Eurowings Discover offers 1 full meal service in economy class shortly after takeoff, and a smaller snack service before landing. The meal options on today's flight were chicken and pasta or spinach pasta. The tray was served with a vermicelli noodle salad as an appetizer, a wedge of brie, and a packet of butter and a bread roll. For my main, I opted for the chicken, which was served in a white wine cream sauce with spinach and pasta and tomato sauce. The tray was also served with a set of wooden cutlery, which is a nice idea from a sustainability perspective, but made it a little difficult to cut the chicken. A drink service was offered with the tray, and I opted for a Diet Coke and a water. Alcohol is not complimentary for economy class passengers, which is a bummer as most other airlines offer complimentary alcohol on their transatlantic flights. Mixing it all together, this was easily the best meal I've had in economy class on any transatlantic flight. The salad appetizer was also very tasty. My only negative comment is that there was no dessert, but everything I was served was fantastic. The crew passed through again after about 50 minutes to collect the meal trays, and we're now cruising over Western Ireland, getting ready to begin our journey out across the Atlantic. Another 25 minutes after the trays were collected, the crew passed through once more to offer coffee, tea, and water. With the cabin lights dimmed, we now have 5.5 hours to go. Two hours later, and about 4 hours into the flight time, the crew passed through the cabin offering water. Taking a walk to the back of the aircraft, in the galley at the rear of economy class, the crew have set up a self-serve station with cookies and different drinks, including water, orange juice, apple juice, and tomato juice. In terms of lavatories on board, for economy class passengers, there are 4 lavatories in the middle of economy, and another 2 lavatories at the very back of the aircraft. Stepping into one of the lavatories at the back of the aircraft, it's small but very modern and clean with bright lighting. The faucet is motion controlled with buttons for temperature adjustment. Heading back to my seat, we're nearing the east coast of Canada now with just over 2 hours to go before landing. For those spending the flight watching movies or TV shows on the entertainment system, there seems to be a glitch where the screen freezes every 30 seconds or so and then skips a few seconds and continues. Very annoying to say the least. With an hour and 40 minutes to go before arrival in Montreal, the crew are passing through the cabin with the second meal service, which consists of a cold Mediterranean wrap with carrot, cheese, spinach, and pesto, and the choice of either cookies or an apple to go with it. The wrap was fine, but pales in comparison to the first meal. A drink service was offered as well, and I opted for an apple juice and a water.
And the lockers, so that you don't forget any of your personal items. Sustainability is important to us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain again. We are now approaching Montreal. Remaining flight time is approximately 20 minutes. And
dear guests, now it's time to say goodbye to you on behalf of the Finnair crew. I would like to thank you for...
After touching down at Montreal Trudeau Airport just before 7:30 p.m., we're now taxiing over to our gate on the international section of the terminal.
Prepare for gate arrival.
Cabin crew, take your door positions.
After disembarking, my first stop is Canadian Border Control before heading down to the baggage claim hall. Arriving in the border control hall, the posted wait time is less than 15 minutes, and I was through in under 5 minutes and on my way to baggage claim. On the moving walkway down, you can see the heaps of lost bags being held here, as summer 2022 was characterized by massive baggage issues at Montreal and Toronto's major airports. Bags from my flight are due to arrive on carousel number 4. Finally, after about 40 minutes, my bag was delivered and it's time to head home. Thanks for joining me for this unique trip with Eurowings Discover, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now for some comments on the experience overall. In almost every sense, Eurowings Discover embodies what it means to be a low-cost leisure carrier, by not offering quite the same range of amenities as flag carriers such as Air Canada and Lufthansa. One point where they really impressed me, however, is with the main meal service on this flight, which was absolutely delicious. But the lack of complimentary alcohol, blankets, or headphones on a nearly 8-hour journey were a disappointment. As for the aircraft itself, while it wasn't a Eurowings Discover plane, the Finnair A350 is a really great plane to be a passenger on, as it's comfortable, bright, and modern feeling. I was, however, disappointed at the lack of AC power outlets and the glitching issues with the entertainment system.